What's up, guys? I've got my NASA shirt on. You know what that means. Rover time. Let's get started. I'm Ethan Taylor. Welcome to Botcraft. Thank you guys for tuning in to Botcraft. This is going to be the first episode of the design of Rovi, a semi-autonomous rover that I'm going to be building over the next series of videos. This is going to follow along the entire process. I think that following the entire build process of a rover might be more insightful than just watching a step-by-step video of just one robot at the end of everything, and you don't see the design process or the failures or successes or what could or could not be, in the final product. So I think that this kind of delivery might be better, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Let's see how this goes. But this is Rovi, the beginning stages, or version 1, I would say. Like I said, semi-autonomous rover. I've got more parts, but this is the beginnings of him. Whatever you want to call it. So, what I want to cover in this video is the initial build process of Rovi and the different design concepts I came up with in Solidworks. And we will cover those design features, the pros and cons, and then we will look at what I've got so far and where I plan on going with it in the future. So I highly urge you guys to follow along the process of building. So please, if you like what you see, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And let's go. Alright, so this is version 1 in Solidworks that I did for the Rovi design. As you can see, I kind of went for more of a simple design here, but also there's some complicated or semi-complex elements to it that we will go over. So for starters, you see, obviously, or the first thing you notice is this pan tilt assembly. This is where I would be putting, let's say, cameras or sensors on the rover. Get down from there. Sorry, my cat. So the pan tilt assembly would allow for different sensors or a camera to be mounted up here. Then you've got a multitude of sensors. In this case, I've got some IR sensors represented here on 3 of the 4 sides of the rover. And they would just be for obstacle detection as well as the sensor on the pan tilt. Then you got some lights up front for being able to drive around at night so that I can see the rover, or so that the rover can see if there's a camera on board. On the wheels, you'll notice that you've got servos controlling their direction, and this allows the vehicle to drive in an omnidirectional type fashion. And you can see I kind of got a little overboard with the design features, trying to make it look more presentable. This design for the chassis, the structural parts of the chassis are comprised of Actobotics channel, as you can see here. And then I've got some ABS plastic plates used to encase the electronics, which would be housed inside of the channel. The only concern that I had with that was that there wasn't a whole lot of room for the electronics and batteries to be housed, although it might end up being enough space. But I've pretty much gone away from this initial design concept, but I still think this was worth noting, and it's something that I think you guys should see as far as my design process. Maybe this was better, maybe the other design is better. Feel free to comment on that if you would like to down below. I felt like this design was a little bit too complex for what I was doing, so that's the only reason I've kind of gone away from it. But I would definitely like you guys' opinion on which one you like better. So this is version 1, and let's take a look at version 2 and see what all the pros and cons are of that. Alright, so here we have concept 2, and in this case, I got a little busy before I recorded this video, so I wasn't able to finish the drawing of the entire vehicle, but the main thing I wanted to focus on was the suspension design on this vehicle. So in this case, we're using a shock absorber based suspension. Now I haven't drawn the shocks in the sketch here, but you can see the armature, how the wheels will attach. In this case, there are no servo gearboxes or anything to change the wheel direction. The wheels are completely fixed to the armature, but this can be changed in a future redesign if I were to extend the channel and add a servo gearbox. So that's still a possibility, but as right now, I'm not really doing that. And I have these shocks that I'm going to use for this design I got from a local hobby store in our area, and I'll show those to you now. I got these metallic red shocks like for RC cars. I thought they were really cool, especially on against the chrome finish of the Activotics channel. Now, if you guys want to build a project similar to this and follow along, you're more than welcome to. And if you don't have like a hobby store, I'm sure these are available online. I'll see if I can find another vendor and attach a link down below for these same shocks if you want similar ones. But if you want to just make it simple, one of my vendors where we get Activotics from, Servo City, they also sell a version of shocks that they use that are for their Mantis kits, and they just sell the shocks by themselves in sets of pairs. And so you're welcome to use those as well. Like I said, I just like these because of the aesthetics of it. The metallic red I thought looked really neat. So it's, like I said, personal preference really, but go with what you want in that respect. So like I said, I didn't really draw a whole lot, but the same basic design as what you saw earlier in the video would be in this version of the rover, where you would have the electronics in an enclosure mounted to the top. This would be the front of the rover, where you would have the pan tilt assembly for a camera and sensors, and then I'm also thinking about putting a robotic arm or something else alongside of the sensor or camera assembly. So this is version 2. I like this because it allows for better suspension than the other design offered. And there's a better concept for how the electronics would be enclosed, even though it's not drawn in this video. But it's basically the same thing like you saw on the rover that I have built so far. So let me know, which one did you like better? Did you like design 2 or design 1, which is the one I showed earlier? Now let's hop over to the bench and I will show you guys what I have got so far and what I plan on doing for the first little while, and then see if I want to continue with whether or not I want to do this design or the design previous. So yeah, let's hop over to the bench and check that out. Alright, apologize for the belly. So this is the initial design of Rovi. I got a lot of the parts from Servo City last week, and I went ahead and put together what I had. And I will put a list of the parts in the description below of what I got from Servo City as far as the Activotics parts. And so let's take a look at what we've got so far. So on the back here, like I said, there's still a lot more to come. I don't have any of the electronics yet. So empty box right now. It's got no brain, but we will fix that next week. So all I got right now is you got the power switch, nice clunky power switch. I've got some terminal blocks to connect the motors to the electronics inside, and this is also where the battery terminates. And then just got some strain relief to allow for the cabling to come through without putting stress on the wires. As you see, I put some shrink tubing on the wires going through the channel so that we don't have any abrasion problems, we don't fray the wires. On the bottom, we've got 4 geared DC, 12 volt DC motors. Just standard brushed motors. Later on I might go with something like a brushless motors or planetary gear motors, or motors with encoders. In fact, I think motors with encoders sound like a better option for me personally, but we'll see what happens. Down here is where the battery will connect, and it'll just tuck away inside the channel here. I got a lithium polymer battery, which is light, and I'll just get some Velcro strips and strap it into the inside of the channel there. Plenty of space for that. Nice wire tied wires, nice and neat. A little concerned that this might be too low, but we'll see how this goes. Right now I'm just going to be driving it on like roads or grass. I'm not really too concerned about the terrain, which is part of the reason why I've gone away from the suspension system for right now. I will touch on the suspension system later, but for right now I think it's okay if I kind of negate it for a little while. This is kind of like initial prototyping, getting the programming right, getting the electronics and hardware set up right, so I'm not too concerned about where I'm going to be driving it. So I've got some nice 5-inch tires, and they came from Robot Shop, and I'll provide a part number for those as well. So like I said, it's a relatively simple design so far, and there's a lot more to come. This missing a lot of parts. Servo City ended up having some of their parts go on back order for my order, so I also am missing some of the parts I ordered from them. So I'm hoping in the next week or so that I'll get those parts in, and also I've got some electronic parts coming that will be here next week, and I'll do an unboxing video showing what we've got, but just a little foreshadowing. We've got some Adafruit Fauna 808 board, a saber-tooth 12x2 motor driver. I got another Arduino Mega, because this is going to be Arduino based for right now. I may look at using something like an ESP32 in the future, but right now it's going to be Arduino based. Now I've already got one Arduino Mega with me, but because I use this for other prototype projects, I ordered a second one for this rover specifically, so I don't have to worry about losing my other Arduino Mega. So, and I may end up doing a custom board in the future, and get away from just the modules and just keep the communication modules and stuff in place. But yeah, it's going to be able to communicate over a cellular network and have GPS capability. There's going to be a standard 900 megahertz radio transceiver for short range communication. So there's a lot more to come, a lot more exciting content in the future. So I highly urge you guys to follow along and subscribe. I'm really excited. I hope you guys are. So if you have any comments, please leave them down below, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week, where we will start looking at the electronics. So have a good week, you guys. Thanks for joining. Bye.